Okay, just testing the sound here because I've got some static going. Okay, it's not showing up on the video, that's fine. It's just on my end. Anyway, this is not going to be a live stream for the playing of the game. This is going to be a mod order video for the playthrough for Legacy of the Dragonborn that I'm going through right now. It was requested, so I'm going to do that. There will be a playthrough or a live stream later this week. I'm not sure when, but it'll be this week at some point. We'll get another video up at least. Anyway, let me get a drink right quick here. I apologize. I've been a little under the weather, and I've been focusing on Elden Ring lately. A fun game. But anyway, for my mod list, I do have the Anniversary Collection. So I have all Creation Club, so I'm not going to go over that. But if you don't have the Creation Club content, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Most of the Creation content is free in free mods. Again, this is for the Xbox version. The PC, you can go to Nexus and get even more mods, like Vigilant, which is a big, massive Overhaul quest mod that you have to get an English translation for. I mean, you can get all kinds of mods. And you can afford different mods, unlike Xbox, because there's no mod limit, where there's a 5 GB limit here, and I think about a 7 GB limit total between mods and saves. So you need to keep that in mind as well as you approach that 5 GB mod limit. Anyway, so like I said, I'll just go in here real quick just to show. We do have all Creation Club content. If you don't do the Creation Club, I do kind of recommend going in once in a while. Usually it's once a month. They give a free armor set out, and I mean, free is free. So if you don't agree with the practices of this, I understand completely. It was a money grab, but I'm the whale they were going for, so I bought it for this. Especially once I saw they had Legacy. So as you see, everything's owned, but all the horse armors were free. They just kind of, as you see, 100% off. But like this here, alternate steel armor, I mean, it's a free add-on to your game. Why not go for it? We'll just see everything is purchased. But yeah, you can get alternate armor dragon scale. I mean, there's no reason not to get free armor. Free armor is free armor. That was one of my favorite early game money makers. You'd start out with the robes before. They changed the way things are done now, so you don't start out with them, but you'd sell those for 800 gold and just go. But you see, I don't use the survival mod or camping, so those are two things I don't do. But everything's free. I just see the fishing. There's a fishing mod for free in the mod list, in the mod game itself, so whatever. I do like the Lord's Mail. Rare Curios was pretty good. I mean, some of this stuff's okay. Stendar's Hammer's on sale, so they have sales and stuff if you don't want to spend everything, but I'd just recommend getting the $14 upgrade if you want Creation Club content and just get it all and not worry about it. And if you don't, like I said, they have sales for free armor like once a month or something. So just check it out and get that. And right now you can see free creations, Saint Seducers, Ray Curios. I'd recommend those two for sure. Those are pretty good. But for the most part, Creation Club isn't very good. Now for the meat of the video. I will try and make the mod list the description of the video, so there is ease of access, I guess I should say. Sometimes they ask you for your email. I just back out and force my way into the mod list because Bethesda can be dumb sometimes. I've put in my email address enough. They should know it by now. I was asked if you should play vanilla or with mods your first time. As you can read from this warning, mods can wreck a playthrough, basically. There are certain mods that just I don't recommend at all. They are, one of them being Requiem, which is a really, really fun mod, but it'll just absolutely annihilate your game 25 hours in, which is unfortunate. It's a fun mod, but I don't recommend anything that kind of goes along that vein. It's very destructive in terms of stuff. As you can see, it's all separated. You have featured mods, which I've used some of these before. I've used this one. I don't recommend this one. I don't like it, but the scoped bows, but I understand why people use it. I don't recommend any weather mods that can cause issues with the scripting. I don't know why. For some reason, Treasure Hunter won't work with Legacy yet. I don't know if they've made the patch. I wish Gemstone Recovery would. Clockwork does. This is a fun mod, but I've never gotten it to work on the Xbox. I have on the PC. It's the guys that made Project AHO, which is a quest mod. This is just another one, but I've never gotten it to work. Wyrmstooth is one of my favorite mods ever. Fallscar, as you see, it's just too resource heavy. I couldn't download it, but it's the first real big mod. That guy actually went on and got a job for making that mod. This is a Dungeons and Dragons landmass type thing, like a different fantasy world, basically. If you don't mind a different fantasy world, Midwood Isle is interesting. Moonpath to Elsewhere is not great. It's a very early on Skyrim mod that's never been really updated, so I don't recommend using it. This is the best follower mod in the game by miles, I think, besides interesting NPCs, like Solo, character-wise. Inigo's awesome. He's just resource heavy. And you see he's got a bunch of patches too. So Moon and Star is a not so resource heavy mod for questing that I always use. I don't use Lucian. Don't use these. These will break your game. Anything that really alternates Whiterun in any way, I have trouble with in Xbox personally, so I don't recommend using them. This is an essential mod. We'll get to everything soon. And this is old Bruma. There's a new Bruma mod, but this is less resource heavy. Anyways, you see it tells you where my library is, your favorites, when you favorite stuff. I'm just going to go through because I haven't checked latest in a while just to see what's going on. If you see a mod like this, don't use it. It's potential trash scripting and might mess your game up. You want to use a mod with a picture on it. I know that seems weird, but a mod like this may or may not be a legitimate mod. It should be okay because it's on Bethesda Net, but it doesn't guarantee it, and this is sometimes what they use as a work in progress script or a title. But if you don't have a picture on the mod, I'm not sure it's going to work out well for you. So you've been warned, if you see a mod like this, do not use it. Not to say that it won't work, but a lot of them have been known to cause issues in save files and corrupt save files, so you've been warned. Monster overhauls are dangerous. Let's see, Legacy of the Dragonborn Caden Follower room patch. You're gonna find a lot of room patches coming out right now for followers because the safe house broke with Legacy of the Dragonborn. Yeah, so followers don't do well in Legacy of the Dragonborn. So here's Inigo. Yeah. Yeah, so be careful with Legacy of the Dragonborn. Like I said, that's what I'm focused on here. There's a lot of patches. A ton of patches. And if you have a mod, you're going to want to probably type it in under search where it says search there with the X button. And I'll go over everything. But as you see, there's 2 of these. I took this one because it was less resource heavy. It wasn't as, whatchamacallit, as high end graphically. Museum player home displays. That's, yeah, see, that's a patch, but you want to be careful because, again, no picture. It's hit or miss. So here's another one. I don't know. It scares me. Okay, it worked. So anyway, yeah. I don't have 10 megabytes, so anyway, if you want to download a patch, you can see you can favor it, disable it, delete it, and that's how you do that. If you want to search, you just type the name in and hit search, and it'll pop up a bunch under search. But anyway, here is the load order. This is what everyone came for 12 minutes into the video. Sorry for the late, but that's just the way it is. See, I have 44 megabytes free, but I really don't, because of Creation Club. And that takes up some space, so it doesn't let you use the full 5 gigs. Keep that in mind. But we have the unofficial Skyrim Edition patch. This is the most important mod in the game. Fixes so many issues, can't even imagine. It is always loaded on top. It is the #1 mod in every mod load order. It should not be in the load order. If you're modding your game, this is essential. It is the only truly essential mod. Obviously, because this is a Legacy of the Dragonborn playthrough, Legacy of the Dragonborn is here. Legacy of the Dragonborn will automatically make its way to here. Most mods, when you put them in, it'll just order them in, and you have to order them separately. Like move them up and down, as you see Reorder. So if I want a cutting room floor there, I'd do that. You see Wyrmstooth the same way, and it moves it up and down. But if I do that, now it's changed. Okay. So that's reordering. This is Legacy of the Dragonborn, Wyrmstooth. These two automatically migrate to the top with unofficial Skyrim patch. Cutting room floor, you want on top right below the unofficial patch. So cutting room floor is a mod I find fairly essential. As you see, if you look down in the description, towards the very, very bottom says load order. Place near top of your list, somewhere underneath unofficial Skyrim patch special edition. So a lot of these mods will tell you load order, and that's where you should put it. But yeah, the Skyrim patch is always on top, and then these two would always go right underneath it, and then followed by that. And then I put quest mods. That's just how I load order things. Heavier mods on top. Some will put them on the bottom. I just find putting it on top makes it more stable. Some will argue that, but whatever. Artifacts of the Ice Blade, or the Blade of the Monarch. I put that there. This has no particular order. All I did basically was load it least megabyte usage versus most, all the way down. So I have artifacts, and I have Moon and Star, Aetherium armor, Konahrik accoutrements, artifacts of the Tournament of the 10 Bloods. It's a Boethia quest. This is a Dragon Priest quest. I should go over these since people were asking. This is to get Aetherium armor and weapons. This is a artifact blade from Morrowind, I believe. Moon and Star is basically you meet the Nerevarine. It's nonsensical, but it's fun. Undeath Remastered, you can become a lich, or you can stop the lich from becoming a lich. So that's a fun mod. And then I put the patch right underneath, the patches for it right underneath. Moon and Star and Undeath has a patch, so I put it underneath those two. The Forgotten City, that actually became its own video game. You can buy it on Steam. It's, from what I hear, pretty good, but I mean, I have the Skyrim patch, and it's literally the same game, so good for that guy for making his own game, I guess. Skyrim, or the Elder Scrolls imports, it just takes stuff from Elder Scrolls Online and puts it into Skyrim, so that's what that is. The Tools of Kagrenac, that's Sunder and Keening and Wraithguard put into the game. Clockwork, it's basically a quest mod with a player home at the end in a dwarven ruin. It's pretty intensive in terms of space. These are where you start getting over 100 megabytes, and this is where the big boy mods are, as you can see. We've jumped from 44 megabytes to now we're at 415, so these are obviously optional. Like, you're not going to see Bruma in here, because if you use Bruma, you're using an entire gigabyte plus of space, along with interesting NPCs. So if you want your Rumarins who make funny comments at every quest, you can't use these quest mods, and I'd rather have these quest mods, to be honest. Project AHO, I consider almost essential. It's that good of a mod. I enjoy the story. It's a lot of fun. It adds a lot of new things to the quest that you can do in a lot of areas, and it's just all around. It's just a fun mod. It's a big mod, as you can see, almost over half a gig, but it is good stuff. And you see there are warnings on there. Don't use those. Don't use this mod. Try and get this mod, even though I've never had to use forceful telekinesis, but it's a good mod. I recommend it. Dwemer Spectres, it's basically adding Dwemer Ghosts from Morrowind into Skyrim, and it's supported by Legacy. All these mods are supported by Legacy. That's why I chose them. As this is a Legacy of the Dragonborn mod list, everything here is supported by Legacy of the Dragonborn, and we'll get to the patches. Those are at the end. So you can put them underneath the mod. I did that individually just to see what it would do, and it actually moved all the patches down to the bottom automatically. So don't waste your time with that. Just put all the patches at the bottom, and you'll be fine. This is a character overhaul. I recommend putting it high as you can, just below the quest mods. You have, and you want to do it in this order. You want to have the character creation overhaul on the bottom, and then diverse races and genders on top, and dynamic skill progression on top of that. This is the order you want to have it put in. If you don't, it will screw up the beginning of the game's character creation. This is my favorite character creator overhaul. I don't think it's on Nexus. The only way I think you can get this is on Bethesda.net, and I don't know if it's on the PC. I've had issues trying to find stuff on the PC sometimes with Bethesda.net versus the Xbox version. This is not on the PS4, but like I said, this is my favorite character creator overhaul. Basically, it lets you choose a sign at the very beginning, so I always go Leverstone to get 15% increased statistic growth, so you learn your skills 15% faster. It just makes small changes to male versus female, like they did in Oblivion and Morrowind. Some are better at some things, and others are better at others. Same with races. It just adds different things. It adds dynamics to what you choose to be, basically. Not everything's a cookie cutter, and I kind of like that better. D&D's even getting rid of that, which kind of, it's whatever, but whatever. I like having a little bit of flavor. Like Nords, you can choose what enemies you favor every 10 levels. Bretons, you get magic defense and regeneration up the wazoo. and red guards you can sprint continuously forever and ever and ever. So it's nice and a little more pizzazz to the character creator. So I recommend it. And remember this order and towards the top. That's where I always put it. Then I have the cheat room and debug menu. The debug menu I'm finding is very useful. It lets you TCL in consoles, which is, if you've ever played the PC version, you know what TCL is. It's toggle collision on and off. If you get stuck like in a crevice in a mountain or in a dungeon, like in a spot that you can't move anywhere and you have to restart your stinking last save, that last save could be 20 minutes ago. Skyrim is good with the auto saves and you can quick save up the wazoo, but it's just nice to be able to make a quick TCL and just get out of the situation and TCL back off and on so you can get back to your game instead of having to reload. So debug menu I consider an essential mod. Cheat room is just in case something goes wrong. I never really use it, but it's there just in case. It's just an in case mod. Debug menus I consider essential. Missives and notice boards pretty much serve the same purpose, but they both are supported by Legacy of the Dragonborn, so I put them in. They just give you like dynamic Radiant Quest. Instead of Radiant Quests popping up, these just give you Radiant Quests on a notice board, which I find more interesting and more fun. Kind of a Witcher 3 style. So that's what those are. Mystic Condenser I consider an essential mod. I don't know why anyone wouldn't have this mod. As you see, it's not resource heavy. Very good mod. Just lets you upgrade potions, and there is a Legacy of the Dragonborn patch for it. So highly recommended. Don't know why anyone wouldn't have it. So make sure you have Mystic Condenser in your playthrough, and you can put it anywhere after character creation and debug. Like I put the debug menu behind character creation. Just that's the order I have it. These are little overhaul things. Foreign currency. It just adds Draugr coins and several Dwemer Dumox is what they call them in Morrowind. I haven't come across any in my playthrough yet. So the nice thing is there's descriptions right here. As you can see, it's a very small mod. Another no reason not to have mod. It's supported by Legacy of the Dragonborn, so might as well have it. It just adds different coins into the game, which is cool. Dragonborn DLC is part of Skyrim. I only know this to be on the Xbox version of the Bethesda.net. It basically puts Dragonborn items in Skyrim. It makes no sense why they would be Solstheim exclusive at this point. We're in the 4th era, so I figured put them in. As you see, it's a very light resourced mod. I was like, put it in. Let's make this part of Skyrim. So I can. It puts basically the big change is it just adds bristleback boars into Skyrim. From what I've noticed, there's some other changes, but that's the big one. You get bristlebacks that you get to fight, and sometimes when you run into them at level like 1 or 2, it can be kind of funny. They're totally beatable, so it's not like an end your game moment. It's just kind of a funny thing to have higher end bristlebacks fighting your level 2 character with an iron sword or flames. But like I said, they're totally beatable. It's totally a thing that can be done. It's just adds a little more flavor to the world. So I again recommend this mod. Bandolier bags and pouches adds just that. As you see, it has different pouches. You see right there in the middle. You have small pouches, satchels, pouches and bags, bandoliers and large bandoliers, and shoulder bags. I highly recommend this mod. I don't consider it essential, but I consider it very much useful. Especially for a Legacy of the Dragonborn run, I consider it essential because having carry weight is a good thing when you're trying to get displays for your museum, and this is a way to increase that carry weight. We have over 1,000 pounds of carry weight because of this mod, so that's very, very useful. Highly recommend. 99% essential. I use it in every one of my playthroughs. Pauldrons I also use in every one of my playthroughs on Xbox because I can't find this mod anywhere else. It just adds Pauldrons to the game. For some reason they're not in the game, and I like having 2 more armor slots on my shoulders. So you can, as you see, it's right there in the list of Pauldrons. You have iron, banded iron, steel, tiny steel, leather, thieves guild, glass, ebony, orcish, elven, daedric, draugr, dwarven, falmer, scaled, blah 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 blah. All kinds of Pauldrons that you can use. And again, they just add 2 more armor slots to your character, and NPCs wear Pauldrons as well. So it's kind of fun to have giant Pauldrons on your armor. I consider it essential because 2 more armor slots for Skyrim is just a good thing. One of the main complaints for Skyrim is they took out a bunch of armor slots, especially from Morrowind. This just puts 2 more back in. You'll find Greaves mods, but I find them less appealing. They kind of cause issues with the vanilla armors. This will cause no issues. Some of them, like Dawnguard, I've never gotten Dawnguard Pauldrons to actually show up in the game. Like the visual script doesn't work. They're there, but they don't exist. Most other mods though, they show up and they work just fine. So if you're looking for armor slots in Skyrim, which is a big complaint from Morrowind fans, this is an essential mod, and it looks really good. It does not work. It doesn't have a slot for a patch for Legacy of the Dragonborn, so you're not going to be displaying any Pauldrons. Just be aware of that. But they do go on mannequins, so you can put Pauldrons on mannequins. This I consider an essential mod. I don't know why it wasn't part of Skyrim just like this. It's wear robes over armor. I've only ever seen it on Bethesda.net. I've never seen it on the Nexus. It just lets you wear robes over armor. It clips, so if that's an issue and you can't stand clipping, just know that this clips and you won't want to use it. I don't care because it's a first-person game, and I typically only start the stream with showing my character, and he's always wearing robes over his armor because it gives you more passives, more enchantment slots, just like Pauldrons. That's another thing, gives you enchantment slots. So why not have 50% more magic regen with whatever restoration, conjuration, illusion, destruction buff you can get? Put master destruction robes on top of heavy armor and you're a battle mage. It's awesome. So I consider this essential. Additional Hearthfire Dolls. It just adds dolls into the game. I only put it in there because Legacy of the Dragonborn. So just beware, there are some compatibility issues, as you can see there. They list them. Yeah, probably incompatible with any mod. Heavily modify the areas where they are placed. See locations down below for details. So basically it'll tell you where the dolls are, and if they're in a spot where you've modified it, don't use this mod. You don't want mods to mod a place twice, basically. So if you have a city overhaul mod, you don't want to use another city overhaul mod on top of it, because you will cause the game to go loopy and cause itself to turn into a black hole of doom and destroy your game. So don't do that. It won't ruin your game, but you won't be able to play it. You'll have to delete the mods. So don't do that. Narrative loot, it's just what it sounds like. It adds 1,629 miscellaneous. It's garbage. Basically you find garbage in chests, fine, great, and simple paintings, horns, just candles, various things. It has a patch for Legacy of the Dragonborn, but I don't know what it does. There's no displays for any of this stuff, so I don't know if I would recommend ever using this mod again, especially because it's so resource heavy at 133 megabytes. I think if I was to redo my Legacy playthrough, narrative loot would not be included in it, so just keep that in mind. Narrative loot is interesting, but I don't think I'd recommend it. Royal Armory and Heavy Armory are Legacy of the Dragonborn compatible with patches. So they're in here. Royal Armory adds unique items to like major NPCs like General Tullius and all the Jarls and that and such. It just gives them more pizzazz. Like the sword of General Tullius now has its own mesh or its own design instead of just being a regular steel sword. It actually looks good. So Royal Armory is kind of nice. Heavy Armory, it just adds different weapons into the game, basically spears, halberds, and short swords, long maces, poles, various weapons. Let's see, there's the load order. It's essential. I mean, it's not, but it is. It gives more variety of the world. There aren't enough weapon types in Skyrim, and this just adds them in. Like Morrowind you're going to hear a lot of comparisons to Morrowind because Morrowind just had a lot more variety in terms of weapons and armor, and this just adds a little more of that, kind of like Pauldrons does. So since I consider Pauldrons essential, I consider heavy armor pretty essential, and it's not super heavy resource based. Neither one of these are. See, combined is 21 megabytes, 22. This is 133. I mean, so you're not wasting a lot of space with those. This is a heavy mod. I'm not sure I would recommend using again. It's just I'd use other guard overhauls. I think this was the one that was compatible with Legacy of the Dragonborn, so I use it for that. But it just changes guard looks to look more unique. I think there's other mods that are far less resource heavy that I would rather use. Cloaks of Skyrim, I mean, it adds cloaks. It works. You can still wear robes over armor and then throw a cloak on top of that. I just think it's cool looking. And I don't know why you wouldn't have a cloak. Cloaks are cool. It's a fantasy world. Come on. So, I know it's a heavy resource mod, but it's okay to have a few of those, and I do recommend it. Cloaks of Skyrim. Aim of the Skyrim, it's there because of Legacy of the Dragonborn, otherwise I wouldn't use it. I might. It depends, but probably not. It's very much up to you. If you're on the PC, there's no reason not to use it. On the Xbox, as you can see, it's fairly heavy resource heavy at 72 megabytes. It's a higher end thing, but it adds different amulets, and that's just nice. It's nice to have more treasure. There's compatibility stuff, so make sure you do that. We don't have issues too much with it, so it's good. Unread books glow. I just like having books that I haven't read glow, so I know which ones I have read and which ones I haven't. It's more for sorting in terms of legacy. This is a legacy compatible mod, but it basically lets me know what books I've read, so I'm not collecting books 400 times for the museum because those are displays, and it gives me kind of a reference point, so I like having that. Otherwise it's not really necessary. Rewarded reading is a newer mod that I've put in my playlists, mostly because it just makes every book a skill book, except for the modded ones that are put in from mods, but I find it to be worthwhile simply because it makes getting skill points easier, and I find it enjoyable. It's not essential, but something that I like to add for flavor, and just makes reading books a little more worthwhile other than just a collectible. Wear multiple rings. I don't know why you can't wear 2 rings, so I mean, self-explanatory. I like to wear more than 1 ring. I don't think it's essential, but if you want to wear more than 1 ring, obviously it is. So it's nice to have multiple rings. 20% more perk points. I recommend. In fact, I call this essential. We're in a couple of essential mods here. There's also, before I get into that, there is a left-handed ring mod you can use, and that lets you basically use a right-handed ring and a left-handed ring. So if you want to do that instead of having a bunch of rings, just know you can do that. It's in the Bethesda.net, you just put it in place of this. Don't put those two. Don't put Wear Multiple Rings and Left-Handed Rings together. It can cause some issues. So just beware of that. But the Left-Handed Rings mod is just as good. If you want to wear 2 rings, it makes sense. You have 2 hands. Otherwise, wear multiple rings. It will not work very well with modded in rings. Just beware of that. So wearing multiple modded rings probably won't work. 20% more perk points. Like I said, every 5 levels you get an extra perk point. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, so on and so forth. You get an extra perk point. So instead of 1, you get 2. And when you have a perk overhaul mod called Ordinator, which we will get to, this is essential because there are 418 perk points in that mod, which is far different than vanilla. If you're just doing vanilla, the vanilla perk system, this mod is not necessary at all. But if you're using any overhaul, use this mod and your life will be simple. There is a 50% more perk point mod, but I find that to be overkill. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you're getting an extra perk point. That's too many. This just kind of is a nice reward for every 5th level, and I think that's a really good compromise. So I recommend this one. 10 health per level. I'll never play Skyrim again without this. I don't know what they were thinking. We have to choose magic, stamina, or health to increase every level, but I think it's stupid. I really do. So 10 health per level just takes away that frustration of not increasing your health every level. Older games, you had the attributes of, strength, endurance, intelligence, personality, willpower, luck, whatever, and you gained health every level regardless based on your endurance stat. Well, that's not in Skyrim anymore, so they took that option away. I like getting health every level. I feel like we're getting gypped if you don't. So this just makes it so, do you increase your stamina or do you increase your magicka, which is basically to me like putting points in, willpower, intelligence, strength, agility, something like that. So where would you put your points in, basically? And your health just levels up like you have full endurance, which to me works. So I consider this an essential mod. I won't ever play Skyrim without it again. Oblivion Artifact Pack. This is a great mod in terms of legacy. It just adds artifacts from Oblivion. Pretty self-explanatory. I recommend it. I recommend it for any playthrough, really. I think it's a good mod. It's worth having in any mod order, so I recommend this mod. I know it's heavy, but I recommend it. Improved Daedric Artifacts just makes Daedric Artifacts more oomph. The vanilla Daedric Artifacts are kind of bad. They're not like, you can make enchanted artifacts better than Daedric Artifacts, and that shouldn't be. These should be like the big boy artifacts of the world, so this just makes it so Daedric Artifacts are more powerful, which is a good thing. Zim's Immersive Artifacts, same thing, but for all artifacts. So this just makes artifacts, better, basically. I like Zim's Immersive Artifacts. I consider it essential for any playthrough on Xbox or PC. There's no PS4 version, so just know that. This is a interesting one. This can cause issues in your game. Alchemy experience for picking Nirnroot. Nirnroot, it makes that stupid noise, but it gives you nothing, basically. It's just there. So I find that if you have to put up with the noise, you might as well get some alchemy experience out of it. It doesn't give a lot of alchemy experience, as you can see through the description, but it gives, especially early on, enough to where it's worthwhile. And I kind of like this mod. I consider it essential, so definitely one worth taking. And it's on Bethesda.net for the PC and the Xbox. I do not believe it's on the PS4. Fossil mining, like I said earlier, this is the lighter version. The other one's 300 megabytes. because of textures. So I don't care about the textures, so I went with the one that's half the cost in terms of space, and that gives you, 161 new artifacts in the museum or something like that. So this is all about the museum here. So that's why I have that mod. Otherwise, it's not useful. You get this through mining ore, and then you'll get a random fossil usually. So it's nice to get the artifact, but it's not necessary to get a normal playthrough. If you're not doing legacy, you don't need fossil mining. Portal alchemy I consider essential. It's something that existed in every Elder Scrolls game before Skyrim, and they got rid of it. I don't know why. So this just puts mortars and pestles and then alblemex and whatever back in the game. So yeah, definitely an essential mod. Still not sure why they got rid of it in Skyrim. So good mod to put back in the game. Definitely essential. Ars Metallica, super essential. This makes smithing so much more fun. Like, it just makes it so much better. Tanning and smelting did not give you experience for smithing in the vanilla game, which drove people up the freaking wall. This changes that and adds a few more other systems into the smithing process, which I like. So Ars Metallica, essential mod. As you can see, not resource heavy at all. It's not even a megabyte. No excuse not to have this mod whatsoever. Absolutely wonderful. 10 out of 10. Whoever made that, the person that made that mod, good job. This was a good mod. I use it in every playthrough. Economy Overhaul and Speechcraft Overhaul, it just basically makes things, because Skyrim is in a civil war, it should have, a tanked economy, basically. Just more realistic in that respect, which I kind of like, because money's easy to come by in Skyrim, and this just makes it so things are more expensive. Not a very heavy inducing mod, just something I like to have in. I use it pretty much every playthrough that I use. It is not in the original mod list that I used, but I added it in because I just think it's better. Plus, it makes Speechcraft interesting. I've gone over several times in the last couple of videos how it's changed the Speechcraft tree in Ordinator and made it more necessary for buying and selling items. So I like that Speechcraft now has a point. Especially early game, you want to put perk points in Speechcraft with this mod. Wintersun is one of the more interesting mods I've ever used. It's a religion mod. Religions were in the Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, and then they took them out, basically. It's kind of in Morrowind because the Tribunal or the Imperial Cult quest lines, but it's gone by Oblivion, which was really weird because, Oblivion's kind of the capital of the Empire, and a lot of things were wrong with Oblivion. I know I bash Oblivion a lot, but they really screwed up, I think, with the world in Oblivion. Wintersun just adds these religions and several more back into Skyrim, and I really like this mod, so I'm going to actually call it essential. And there's several patches that you need, but we'll get to those. It makes you do things and play the character the way the character would be played. I mean, you don't have to pick a religion, but in which case you wouldn't need this mod except for the museum artifact or displays that they put in. So there are museum displays with Wintersun as well. It's one of my favorite areas in the museum. So again, I recommend this mod. As you see, there's a cutting room floor patch. There's Zim's Artifacts and Wintersun patch. So Wintersun and Zim's Artifacts has a patch. So there's a couple patches there that I just put under Wintersun just so they were there. You want to always put the patch below the two mods that are being patched. Otherwise, the patch doesn't patch both mods. So just make sure that's the case. You can always put patches at the bottom of the load order. It won't do any harm. I just like to have it because the game will read from top to bottom. So it reads the top mods first, and then as you go down in order, it reads those mods as you go down. So it'll read Cutting Room Floor, and then it'll read Wintersun, and then it'll read its patch. And I don't want And I don't like to have it like read 45 other mods in between those two mods in its patch. So I try and put the patches right underneath that last mod. But if you put them at the end, it doesn't really hurt anything. It's just more of a me thing. These are three super, well, we'll go four. We'll go three, okay. 3 super essential mods that every playlist should have, regardless of whatever. You should always have these 3 in, and they should always be in this order. You want Summer Mist, it adds enchantments. There is no reason not to have 120 new enchantments in your Skyrim if you're using a modded load order. I don't even know what to say. This is like the easiest mod to put in. Use it. Look at all these enchantments that are being listed. I mean, that was just armor. This is weapons. I mean, look at this. Yeah. And they can't even fit them all. So I mean, it's ridiculous not to have Summer Mist enchantments in a modded order. Make sure you have this mod in your order. Apocalypse adds new magic into the game. As you can see, it's a fairly resource heavy mod compared to the others. Recommended. Magic sucks in Skyrim. This just makes it not suck. So, Apocalypse. I know there's Fendrick's Magic Overhaul and several other overhauls. I think Odin is one. But I recommend Apocalypse. Ordinator is the quintessential perk overhaul system. It used to be Percus Maximus when Skyrim first came out. Ordinator absolutely destroyed it, and is now the only mod order or mod over or the words the only perk overhaul mod that I would use. I mean, you can't in whatchamacallit, in the PS4. As you see, there are issues with Triumvirate. I don't like using Triumvirate, Mysticism, and several other mods that it's compatible with. It just isn't worth it to me. So I don't. I have before. I've had issues with it. So these 3 essential. Ordinator just adds so much to the game in terms of roleplay, in terms of making a character. It's just spectacular. Then you have the overhaul, the economy speech overhaul and ordinator patch. Then you have the Apocalypse ordinator patch. Oh, Odin's the magic overhaul, yeah. I actually use Odin now. I've found Odin to be interesting enough, and it works with Apocalypse, and there's a patch for ordinator, so it's a new mod that I've been using. It's alright. So it's not essential, but if you want to use it, it's there. And you have these mods this way. That way, you know, the Ordinator patches get read before Odin, and then Odin and Ordinator get their patch. So those are the system overhaul mods that I use, at least in this playthrough. Quality map just changes the map to make it look pretty. I don't know. I like it. I use it in every playthrough, so I guess it's essential, but it's not. You don't have to use it, I just do. Blood Horker, it just adds the Horkers from the Blood Moon expansion from Morrowind in there, the white ones with the 3 tusks on Solstheim. So it's just there. It's simple, easy mod. I like using it. One thing Oblivion did well is the font. I really like Oblivion's font. That's why all these letters look different than a vanilla playthrough, is because I use this font overhaul. So yeah, I just like the font. I don't like Skyrim's font, so there's plenty of font overhauls to use. I just chose this one. Hunterborn is a fun mod. It just changes the way you do like skinning and harvesting ingredients and meat from animals like foxes, wolves. I've once picked up a mammoth on accident in this playthrough, and it was 12,000 pounds, so that was kind of awesome. But it adds alchemy ingredients and recipes into the game, and hunting knives and various other things I just like. And you can change its settings with a shout button. So Hunterborn is a fun mod. It's not an essential mod, but I use it frequently. I haven't used it in every playthrough, but frequently enough. Oh, then we have a College of Winterhold quest fixer. There were some issues with, with the College of Winterhold quest line I've been having, and they actually made a mod to fix those issues, so this should help with that. We will find out when we get to College of Winterhold if this mod was worth downloading or not. Knight of the North Creation Club. This is only if you have the Knights of the Nine, the Holy Crusader Creation Club content. This just makes it a quest line to make it more interesting than finding the Divine Crusader stuff on 2 bandits, which was stupid. This just makes it a little more interesting. Immersive Citizens, absolutely 100% guaranteed, needs to be in every playthrough essential mod. It just makes the NPCs of Skyrim more interesting, more not Skyrim-y, not janky like they usually are. So, highly recommend this mod. It's more interactive. It's just better. So it just makes the AI that much better. So for the love of God, have this and put it near the bottom. Realistic Conversations just adds more dialogue into the game. I consider it essential, especially because if you notice, these aren't heavy, resource mods. Now there's another one that sometimes I use. It's Relationship Dialogue Overhaul. It is over 100 megabytes to download, so I didn't use it with the legacy stuff. So, but this is the load order you want to use for these 3 mods. Alternate Start just gets rid of that horrible vanilla start from the carriage ride and the going through the dungeons and blah blah blah. This just lets you start off differently, and there's different mods that let you start in different places. Say you have Bruma, there's an alternate start Bruma. You can start in Bruma. You can start in a shipwreck, or owning a house, or in a guild, or a vampire thrall, or werewolf, or all kinds of places. It's a fun little character setup for your created character, depending on what you choose. So it's a nice flavor mod that I like to start with, and it makes the beginning of the game not suck as much. So just remember, this is the load order for these 3 mods every time, 100%, and at the bottom of your order. Patches can go below it, but you don't want too much below these, especially Alternate Start. You want that at the bottom, or at least near the bottom. I remember I had an 80-hour playthrough get destroyed. It just corrupted every freaking save file I had. All the autosaves, the quick save, 3 manual saves. 80 to 85 hours I was into a game because this quest broke in Dawnguard. So I found this patch, Dawnguard Beyond Death Quest Fixer. Please download this. Please keep this from having your game break. And as you can see in the mod description at the top there, it's meant to be used with Quest Debugger. I don't have that downloaded. I need to get that downloaded. But it's just, this will fix that problem. And you see it literally tells you what to do. But yeah, this quest actually broke one of my longer playthroughs I've ever had of this. So I consider this an essential mod because it fixes a game destroying glitch that for some reason the unofficial patch doesn't. Which the unofficial patch isn't going to get everything, so I'm not mad at the unofficial patch. It's just this one affected me, so absolutely essential. Color patch remover, it's essential. Put it on the bottom. It just makes the orange patches from Skyrim's doors and floors go away. Sometimes the cell for the area will load and the door or a piece of the floor won't, and they'll put an orange patch over it to make it look horrible. This just gets rid of that. So as you can see, top of the thing there, you need the unofficial patch, which like I said you should always have, and you place this at the very bottom. So that's why it's down here. And that is the last of the main mods that I've done. Now we have all the legacy patches. There's also there's a bigger legacy patch somewhere. We'll get to it eventually, but yeah, the Wyrmstooth cutting room floor. All these have patches, as you see. Patch. See, I put these all under the original mods, and they just shoved them down here again, so it automatically does it. Sometimes that'll happen. But yeah, these are all the patches. And then I have an Amulet of King's Replacer for a storyline element later. This is an important one, and this is why I didn't want to just go blah blah blah. This is for the Creation Club. Only use this patch if you have the Anniversary Edition and have all of the Anniversary Creation Club content downloaded. Otherwise it won't work. And the problem is, if you don't have the Anniversary Collection, I don't know if there's patches individually for various like Creation Club content. I know there's one for a few, like Rare Curios and a couple others, but I don't know how many there are, at least on Xbox. So keep that in mind. I just, like I said, I have the Anniversary Edition, so I downloaded this patch just so all my Anniversary items are put in Legacy of the Dragonborn. This just causes, there were some issues with NPCs that I had with stuttering, and this is just a patch to get rid of it. Fossil mining. That's the player home display. And there was one in here that I used to fix an issue with the safe house. There's a safe house issue where the Legacy of the Dragonborn safe house will not load, or the game will crash immediately as soon as you go into Legacy of the Dragonborn. So keep that in mind, so you're not just, trying to go into the safe house all the time. Always save before you go in the safe house, because it is a common problem on the Xbox version that the Legacy of the Dragonborn safe house is glitched. I've heard that the guild hall can be glitched as well. I have not had any issues with the guild hall to this point. I do know that if you take a follower into Legacy of the Dragonborn's museum, there are issues with Legacy of the Dragonborn and followers. That's why all those patches are coming out right now with followers. And there's one for interesting NPCs as well. If you have interesting NPCs and Pruma on your Xbox playlist, you won't have room for very much else if you throw Legacy of the Dragonborn on there. Like that's almost 5 gigabytes right there. I don't even know if you can get the unofficial patch on there, to be honest. I don't recommend doing that on the Xbox. On the PC, absolutely. Go for it. PS4, none of those mods exist, so it doesn't matter. Sorry, PS4, you just don't get the cool mods. I will say this. Legacy of the Dragonborn, A Night in the Museum quest is broken. It needs to get fixed. When you go to Dream for the second time, I think it is, and you have the nightmare with everything and the ghosts and the little girl giving you a journal, when you rest in the bed, the game will always crash no matter what mods you have loaded. I've noticed, especially Overhaul mods. The only way I was able to get around it was to keep you have to keep these 3 mods here: Character Creation Overhaul, and you have to keep the perk points, the health, and Wintersun. You have to keep these. Otherwise, you'll, especially Ordinator. If you take Ordinator off your playthrough, you'll destroy your perk tree, and you'll never be able to fix it. We had that issue on, and I think it's in the videos, where certain attributes with the character creation overhaul and Ordinator, if you take them off and put them back on, they will go negative, and you'll never be able to get them out of negative because the cost to train is like 40 bajillion gold that doesn't exist. So I honestly, the only way I got through it was disabling everything but like 7 of my mods and then reinstalling the mods, and I got through Night at the Museum. I would recommend skipping the quest entirely. You'll lose a ghost helmet, which is a display in the museum, but better to lose a display than an entire playthrough, because you need like 300 displays in the museum to get that quest. And then the guy will show up and he will tell you that the museum is temporarily closed because it's haunted. You can tell him sucks to be you, sounds like a you problem, and forget the quest. That is the course of action I would recommend taking from now on. I would not try to complete that quest on the Xbox. It works okay on the PC, but on the Xbox right now, I would not do Night at the Museum. After 300 displays are placed in the museum and you run into the guy, tell him to do it himself. And then a few days will pass and the quest will end, and you'll be fine. And you'll be able to play your game. So far, we've had several crashes. This is not a perfect mod load order. I'm sure expert mod people will blast some of my placement of some of my mods. But for the most part, when I play Skyrim, except for this Legacy of the Dragonborn, when I've played Skyrim, I haven't had any issues with the mod order. This is the first time I've had this many crashes, and it's because Legacy of the Dragonborn, I'm pretty sure. But Legacy of the Dragonborn adds so much to the game, I just can't see playing Skyrim without it anymore. So it's just something I'm going to have to deal with. But overall, I would say save every 10 minutes at least. Otherwise, you're going to have bad times in Skyrim. You might have bad times anyway in Skyrim to begin with, in terms of crashes. So I will try and make this mod list in the description, and then that will be that. But I have gone through this whole video and described every mod that I have, and that is my mod list. So I hope that helps for the people that were requesting it. I appreciate all the viewership on the YouTube. It's been kind of fun to see people actually watch these videos and comment on them and give opinions and feedbacks and stuff, and I appreciate that. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I have an actual career going for me right now, and so this is just something I do for fun. So I hope people are having fun and just kind of throwing it in the background, doing what they do and having a good time with the playthrough. I'm going to keep going with it, obviously, and I just wanted to make this video just so we had a mod list video because it was requested. And now that I know people are interested in the mod list used, if I play another playthrough someday of Skyrim or Morrowind or Daggerfall or Oblivion, I will make sure to have a mod list description and video up and ready to go. So I apologize for not having that until now, but it is here now, like I said, and we will make sure that it is put up on YouTube for those that are watching on the YouTubes. So I plan on continuing this playthrough later this week, and we will get back to the gameplay in the next video. So for now, I'm going to call it. I'm going to back out of here. Before I do that, let me hit the options just so people can see. You can delete all mods and disable all mods from the options. I won't do that. So, just in case someone hasn't ever used a mod before, I understand. But when you hit back out, and then back out again, you'll see the mod selection order has changed. The game will now reload your data files. Don't mess with mod orders mid-playthrough. I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but once you have a mod list, don't mess with it. Don't update the files, because it'll show you mods that need updated. Be careful about updating things, because you could break something somewhere else. Once you have a mod list started and you start a playthrough, roll with it until you're done. So that is advice I will give from experience, and I have a lot of experience in modding Skyrim and Morrowind and Daggerfall Unity. Really, those are the three that I play with the most. Oblivion's just the worst. So I don't mess with Oblivion. I watch other people play Oblivion, and they do a much better job at modding it than I do. I have problems with Oblivion on my PC. So anyway, this was just an informative video for people that were asking, and I will talk to you all later, and I will have this up on YouTube at some point in time. Alright everyone, you have a good one. Bye-bye.